Let's go.
Welcome in, everyone. It is that day, the day that many baseball fans have circled at the beginning of their calendar. Opening day has arrived, as the Marlins will play their first game today and first series in a 4-game set against the New York Mets. We've got Eli Sussman as always. We have special guests. We have Gabriel Revilla, and we have Tanner McGrath from the Action Network. Small panel today. Most of the guys are at the ballpark, and with that being said, we have a press box report coming up soon. But we want to start today with an exclusive interview that some of our guys got at the ballpark regarding one of the most famous Met fans, Mr. Frank Fleming.
Yes, buckle up. Very detailed interview.
Hi, Frank. How are we feeling about the Edwin Diaz and Justin Verlander starting out on the IL?
Season is a disaster. It's a lost season. This is going to be a disaster for the Mets. 95 to 100 losses.
95 to 100.
It's going to crumble. It's already.
Well, things are going swimmingly in New York, as if you have not heard yet. Justin Verlander is going on the IL. He was expected to start, was it Saturday, I believe, was supposed to be his first scheduled start, was going to be against Edward Cabrera, but he will not make that start now. The Mets all of a sudden in a little bit of pitcher limbo to figure out what to do Saturday night, as typically a lot of those northern teams have only 3-game opening day series because they'll have the off day in case rain postpones it. But being in Miami, you're going to play 4 games that first opening series. So with that being said, let's talk about the nature of the day. It is time for opening day. So we'll go across the panel here. What's your guys' favorite opening day memories, and what does opening day mean to you? Something that stood out on this day over the years since we all became baseball fans.
I want to start in a very unusual place. Even though we want to talk about the positive stuff and the conventional heartwarming opening days, I think I'll always remember 2020 and how odd that was to be the absence of everything that was supposed to be involved with opening day. The Marlins opened at the Phillies that year in the late July, last week of July, and to see what was obviously a very important game, to see what was the few Marlins wins, one of the only times in the last decade that they've won on opening day, and just nobody was there, and hardly anybody was there as press, and that they had all these restrictions in place. I mean, because of how weird that was and how that had the absence of like all the normal opening day pageantry, I think that's one memory that will always stick into my head just because of what it was missing in that regard. I don't know if I've ever been to a major league opening day. I hope one of you two have, because I've been missing out on that, I think.
I have too. I grew up in Cincinnati, and of course that's an all-day party, and I've never been to an opening day either. So hopefully one of you guys have gone. I know our Isaac Azut, it's been the 15 opening days in a row now. That's a pretty withstanding record.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of. I'm from the Boston area. I've been to a bunch of Red Sox opening day at Fenway, and all of Boston is lit up. But more Marlins specific, I think this opening day is special. Sandy making his 4th straight opening day start for the Marlins. That's the first Marlin to ever do that, right?
First one to make more than 3. Yeah, he was.
Was
there Arania that somehow made 3 of them, and Josh Beckett made 3 of them. Josh Johnson made 3 of them as well.
That's great for how often ownership will just ship off players. It feels special, actually. I feel like we have a guy who's been here.
It's a testament to his durability too. You've had a lot of great pitchers over the year not be able to make opening day starts and just miss starts here and there, but Sandy is pretty much as reliable as it gets. He'll get to defend his Cy Young on opening day.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I remember specifically, I want to say it was 2009. The Marlins were playing the Washington Nationals at Pro Players Stadium. And this was one of those games where it was a really high scoring game on the Marlins side. And I went with my parents and my sister. I remember Emilio Bonifacio hitting an inside the park home run. That might have been one of the funnest opening day games probably that I've ever been to regarding the Marlins, simply because of just how high scoring it was. And it was just like hit after hit. And then Hanley Ramirez is hitting bombs. I mean, it was also when the time of like Dan Aguilar, Hanley Ramirez, that whole group, and I think it was like Jeremy Hermida. I mean, it was an interesting crew, man. That was a pretty awesome opening day. I love that one.
I just looked it up. 18 runs scored in that game. 12-6.
There it
game,
is. Yeah, that was awesome. I was there for that.
I guess I don't really have like a special opening day memory because you guys said a lot of the good ones, but one that will always stand out to me was I was in the airport for 2018 opening day. I was watching it on my phone. That first pitch, home run, Ian Happ off of Jose Urena. That'll always stand out to me. You guys have any like weird, just personal traditions that you guys do for the occasion? Anything you eat that day, anything you wear, anything you do during the day?
Wings.
For the game?
Smoke wings.
Smoke wings.
Yeah.
I've got one that it's kind of quirky, but of course we love it. It's a ballpark. I always get my favorite ballpark food. I get peanuts. I always make sure I have peanuts. And I just get a trash can because I'm not going to go eat them outside. But no matter where I'm at, it is the ballpark food. No matter what stadium I'm in, I always have to make sure I've got my peanuts. So I went out.
I just wear this visor, and then every single time the fish go down in the late innings, I turn it upside down, rally cap it, and annoy my girlfriend.
Rally cap.
Yeah, that's my only tradition. It's a dumb visor that I hate so much, but I love it.
All right, we'll start with the news that dropped yesterday that was expected, and it's going to kind of turn around the league here in terms of the uniform part of the league. The ad patch, ADT, is now the Marlins official jersey sponsor. We know for sure it's going to be on the home uniform. Not clear yet if it's going to be on every uniform, but it is on the sleeve of whatever arm is facing the center field camera for that player, I believe. But we got confirmation it's every uniform is confirmed. Appreciate that. So it will be on every single uniform this year. And there's going to be 3 different uniforms that the Marlins are going to wear this week. And we'll talk about that in a second. But it's $5 million a year, 3 years. That can go towards something, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of payroll, any stadium upgrades. Well, we'll start with Eli here. What do you kind of expect from the profits of this deal?
It's substantial. This has been a while coming. It's been a full year since Major League Baseball gave the green light for teams to do this. And I have a little bit of reporting on this. They've been in talks with ADT since like very early in the process, going back almost a full year. They were one of the first companies that they approached. They were doing mock-ups of this patch 10 months ago. Back in June of last year, there were mock-ups of this, basically the exact same thing that they finalized now. It was just a matter of getting the price that they wanted and getting some extra elements in there as well. There's some like advertising in the ballpark that's part of this, and there's some other initiatives that made them put it into a big package and rise up the price to this level. It's almost what they're paying Gene Segura in salary this season. It's, if you put it that way, it's the price to get. You could get like quite a number of like decent players just for $5 million a year. This is in place for at least the next 3 years, and I think there's an option to go even beyond that. So in perpetuity, there's like all this money that they didn't previously have, and all they do is like completely compromise the integrity of their uniform, taking a step that's never been done before. But I think people will survive just because there is the precedent for this in other leagues. I mean, most intimately, at people that are fans of the NBA has had jersey patches now for the last few years, and I think they've reached a point where every team has it. It's interesting to see that only a handful of teams have patches at this point. Only 7 out of the 30 have patches entering this season. That surprised me. I thought almost every team would kind of
What
make
are
this
those
a high
teams?
priority to sell this. Off the top of my head, the Astros, the Padres, the Red Sox, I think, had the biggest deal where they get $17 million from Mass Mutual. The Diamondbacks, that's most of them. Who else am I missing in there? Yeah, we have at least those other 4. And then they're up to 7 at this point. I'll pull it up in a second, but it's no other teams in the division to this point in the NL East. I think it's only the Marlins among the NL East teams.
Yeah, so we'll see more of that trickle in. It is expected that every team will get an ad patch, and each team will work at their own pace. Kind of saw how this happened in the NBA. A few teams got patches early on, and similarly in the MLB, the Red Sox, the Cincinnati Reds, the Padres, they all got theirs fairly early. But the expectation is by the end of the season, every single team will have an ad patch that goes on their jersey. We've seen some ads on helmets with no clue if that's going to come or not, but that is another source of income for the Marlins, and we'll see how that benefits them.
I like how Peter Pratt is thinking in the comments about multiple patches.
A couple more patches.
Money from that.
Yeah.
It might have to look like a NASCAR driver to be able to afford Ohtani.
The patch is
To
going
be
to be
fair,
on
that's for any team, not just the Marlins. That guy is going to command an insane deal. Excited to watch him tonight. What a World Baseball Classic that was. But it's opening day time. We've got 2 credential reporters at the ballpark opening day. We are going to do our first press box report of the season with Noah and Isaac. They should be in here shortly. Maybe they're on standby, no clue yet, but they've got some exclusive content for us. You guys saw the interview from earlier with Frank Fleming, and there he is, Noah, at his first day of school. He says, "You've been in spring training, you've been at the World Baseball Classic. How does it feel to be back and ready to cover the real thing now?"
It's definitely a different vibe. This is my first time covering opening day. It's really cool. It's a lot more people here, but earlier in the game, again, nothing compares to the World Baseball Classic because that was just incredible. But it's nice to see everybody back here, returning faces, the new faces, everybody. Isaac's making faces over here. And it's just great to finally be back in the ballpark and ready for the regular season. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally it's time to go.
Absolutely. And there were rumors that, of course, Mets fans, a lot of New Yorkers come down in South Florida of other things, and it was expected that there would be a big Mets contingency at the crowd. It's still an hour to first pitch, but what's the crowd looking like right now? You and Isaac took some laps around.
So Isaac took laps. I didn't.
Okay.
There's about there's about 5 sections on the first base side that are starting to fill up with bright blue, light blue T-shirts with pink across the chest that say Queens South.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about already 100 of those shirts, and there will probably be a lot more. Those 4-5 sections are probably going to be full of it.
Well, I think they call themselves the 7-Line Army. That's probably that group.
The 7-Line Army is the one in that's at Citi Field. This is Queens South. This is one of their away things.
Wow.
This is their Miami group. It's just like the Islanders have their meetups in other places. The Mets have the same thing.
Gotcha. And hey, being able to attend any opening day obviously must be special, but to do it on the road in Miami, lots of hype around both these teams this year in different aspects. It must be special. So you were down in the clubhouse earlier, you got to walk around the field. What's the general vibe in the clubhouse right now, and seeing some of the new faces get ready to make their official Marlins debut?
Excitement. There's definitely there's a much bigger vibe of excitement around the ball club. Everyone's ready to go. The whole team is thankfully, and I don't want to jinx anything, but they're pretty healthy. Obviously can't say the same for the Mets starting rotation, which is
can't say the same for the entire NL East right now.
Which is just a theme for the Mets. They can never have their number 1 starter on opening day. It's just not a thing. So it's interesting. It's really when that news broke, you could tell everyone was like, "Whoa!" It was like hushed whispers around. I think even Kim Ang looked up and she's like, "Whoa!" And now Isaac's begging me to give him the headset, so I'm going to cut it off there so he shuts up.
Right there he is. We got 2 reporters that will probably be at the ballpark every night again this year. We got number 2 right here. Oh, hat off for this one. Hat off.
Let's do it. What's up, guys?
All right. You seem happy to be here. 15 consecutive opening days for you in Miami. Second as a reporter. How's it feel?
It's awesome, man. I think, honestly, last season, there's a little bit more. It's pretty weak for 315, in my opinion. There's not a lot of people here. You got to give it is pouring rain outside, like Noah's saying, but if it wasn't the Mets, I fear how many people would actually be here. But it's exhilarating to say the least, and I'm very happy to be here.
Isaac, I have a question.
What's up, man?
Why are you so much worse dressed than Noah?
Oh, that's
Noah looks great. You come in with like a chain and a t-shirt. It's your 15th opening day. You can't put on anything, man. I mean,
you know what? Last year I wore a button down. Last year I wore a button down. This year I can never be better dressed than Noah. It's impossible. So I just
You're just giving it to him.
My normal outfit every day. And when we all found out that Verlander was hurt, Kim was on the phone, and so we all made the joke like, "Oh, is that the Mets calling you about Braxton Garrett or something?" So she liked the joke, so I think I'm on her good side for a while.
There you go. There you go. So the pitching matchup today, I forgot to ask Noah about this, but the pitching matchup today, two Titans. We maybe expected during the offseason would be both the reigning Cy Young Award winners, but it's still Sandy versus Scherzer. Probably the best pitching matchup on paper today. Well, what are you expecting to see in terms of runs scored and just the overall dominance of both of these legendary pitchers out there on the mound tonight?
Well, Skip was asked right away about Sandy's, is there any restrictions? No, he's full to go. If he has to go 9 innings, he'll go 9 innings. So I think we're going to see 2022 Sandy in that sense. And then with Scherzer, you're going to expect dominance like every time he's out there. So I think Miami's going to have a tough time scoring runs. I think both teams are going to have a tough time scoring runs. So it might be a good time to take the under on today's ball game. I'm sure Tanner is all over that.
Well, we got a segment on that later. We will be talking about that later. If you guys are interested in betting, we have Tanner here for a reason. But I asked Noah the same question. General vibes around the clubhouse. What are you thinking about what's been happening?
There's a new as you guys saw. There's a new slogan on the wall, and the players seem to be happy. Jazz came in there with a big smile. Jesus Sanchez isn't in the lineup, but he's extremely happy. All the IL guys reported in, even though Okert and Enright showed up a little bit late because they were throwing in Jupiter this morning. They showed up happy. Tommy Nance, Max Meyer, they all came in, big smiles on their faces. Fortes, Stallings, it just seems to be a Bender came in with a great smile on his face. It just seemed to be a very happy clubhouse, and that's a pretty big change of pace from last season.
So the vibes are high. Hopefully that should translate into a win for the Marlins. So I'll ask both of you guys now. Series prediction plus MVP for this one.
I'm going to give the MVP to Max Scherzer, and I'm going to give it a series split. As Ethan Budowski says, anytime it's 4 games, it'll be a split. So 2-2. No,
especially with Verlander out now. We'll have to keep an eye on that Saturday night. We'll see what the Mets will do. Thank you, Isaac. We'll go to Noah now. His prediction.
Get my seat back. We here?
Yeah. We'll go MVP and the series prediction.
So I think they'll split. And I'm going to give the MVP to Avi Garcia.
Whoa, okay.
I think he comes out hot. I'm not saying he stays hot, but I think he comes out hot.
In a lot of sports books, he's the only player with a projected over-under strikeouts above 0.5. So the odds makers aren't expecting a good game from Avi, but this is the series MVP to look at. What do you think he's going to do against this Mets pitching? What's an advantage he might have?
Oh, now you say that, I don't see one.
The vibes.
The vibes.
It could just
it's
be
all
vibes.
vibes.
Yeah.
It's all vibes.
Yeah. Well, the vibes are high, as you said.
Just like my fantasy team, it's all vibes. You're all vibes here.
Well, the vibes seem high. Hope you guys enjoy your opening day in the press box. Hopefully you can bring home the Marlins a win. We appreciate you guys for coming on. And good luck on the coverage today for both of you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah.
All right, good press box report. We started off the season off hot. Well, what did you guys take away from some of the sights and sounds that they were able to provide?
Yeah, I want to see if I could get this right. For whatever reason, my screen sharing, the usual stuff that I do. Oh, there it is. Now it works. Perfect. Okay. So this was, I think Isaac referenced this, that they have this hanging in the dugout, this new slogan, the relentless pursuit of a win every day. That's pretty cool. That's something that they certainly didn't have last year, something that was as blunt about the urgency to actually be competitive every day. That's a new Skip Schumacher thingamajigger, and I don't think I could get it on, but Daniel Rodriguez from our staff, he's going as a fan, and he just took a picture outside on the plaza less than 7 minutes ago, and there's not much of a line to get in at this point. So clearly the weather is impacting things. And he estimates that it's 70% Mets fans in there. So that's about expected, right?
That was what was expected. Last year for the Marlins home opener, it was a pretty good crowd. That was, of course, the biggest crowd of the year, as expected for anyone's opening day. But for Lone Depot Park standards, that was a big crowd. It was about 31,000 on hand to watch the Marlins beat the Phillies. But, weather factors, time of day factors, it's the middle of the day. Opening day is not exactly the biggest tradition in Miami. All those factors can play a part, but still hopefully should be a packed house. We all got accustomed to seeing Lone Depot Park filled to the brim. So that might be a sore sight to the eyes to see that beautiful ballpark empty. But what will not be a sore sight, what will actually be a beautiful sight, is what the Marlins will be wearing this weekend. The throwbacks return tomorrow, and we got confirmation today from the team via social media that Sugar Kings will return Saturday. I don't know if it's going to be Legacy Saturdays for every single Saturday like they did last year, but either way, if you're going to Marlins games on the weekends, you're going to see some fireworks on the field. As the 1993 throwbacks are back with the teal hats, the pinstripes, just any general thoughts about these beauties from everyone. They are back.
Spend so much money on these. I'm going to buy every single one. They are beautiful. I've wanted one of those hats for years too.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, the Florida Marlins hats they're always hard to find, especially the teal ones. I feel like I see the black ones everywhere.
This needs to be a thing every year. This can't just be a thing of, 30 years. Like, no. This needs to be a thing every year. The people of Miami want it. You see it in the Twitter threads everywhere. People love it, man. People love the throwback, man. It looks fresh, man. It's awesome.
And this is purely speculation, but it's good speculation in terms of, or educated speculation, I should say, with Nike's new uniform rules. I should have a piece out on this on the site soon, that Nike has a new uniform format for all MLB teams like they do in the NBA and the NFL. All teams are allowed up to 5 uniforms, a home, an away, 2 alternates, and the City Connect. So the throwback could definitely stay for the future, or maybe they go with a different throwback. Maybe they go 03 next. They could change it in and out like they did in 2018 and 2019. It's unclear where Nike's rules stand on that. I am purely speculating that maybe the gray uniforms the gray jerseys, I should say, could drop in the near future in to favor of another alternate uniform. But that's just speculation. But I would not be surprised if the throwbacks do become permanent, especially with how fans take this reception of it this year. Do they increase attendance numbers on Fridays and things like that? So it'll definitely be something to watch. But these are back. It's good to see.
The last time, in 2019, when they wore throwbacks in the middle of the season, unfortunately, that team was dog shit. So it didn't really – there's only so much you can do to bring people in for that team. That's when Harold Ramirez was the star player on that team. And I guess Sandy was
They were using Harold Ramirez and Caleb Smith to promote those.
Yeah. I forgot about Caleb Smith.
So our record in these uniforms probably isn't that great entering this year.
Right.
That would be one I would have to check. Eli could get that stat fairly quickly.
The team does a good job at showing. They have a good job of showing the splits for the different uniforms. And we're gonna have Daniel checking in from the ballpark. We'll bring him in right after the commercial break in a moment or so. So the plan: 11 separate Fridays that they're going to be wearing these. The only 2 home Fridays that they're not wearing it. That's because it conflicts with Roberto Clemente Day and Lou Gehrig Day. So just in those 2 holiday instances, those are the only exceptions to it. I'm fired up. I can't wait to get some pics of that ourselves, of it in action. And I do think it's going to actually make a measurable difference in the turnout, not just because of the uniforms, but also because they're going to get some alumni involved. I think they're going to make an effort to ensure that certain alumni are in the ballpark and accessible to fans during all these Friday games. And then they also have this museum opening in left field that's a sneaky change that I'm really excited about, because they've done so little to acknowledge their history at the ballpark. Now they have this opening up tomorrow for the Friday game. So I'm going to send Kevin Barral there tomorrow to check it out and see what that looks like. Anything is better than nothing in terms of making that effort to remember what this team has accomplished in the past.
Yeah.
It's very rich history. Good to see he's back. Before we had the commercial break, which one do you guys like more, the throwbacks or the Sugar Kings? Personal preferences. Me, I love the Sugar Kings.
Yeah, they
it's like picking a favorite child almost.
You're talking about the City Connect?
I'm a big Sugar Kings guy. They did a really good job with those.
I
wasn't around here when those dropped, but I was surprised, and I was pleasantly surprised. Those are awesome.
The City Connects are fresh, but for me, there's just so much nostalgia in the throwback.
Yeah, I feel like everyone I've talked to, it's been a fan forever. We'll say the throwbacks because there's so much nostalgia, but a lot of newer Marlins fans, I feel like they like the new logo. I love the new logo. I love what they've got right now, and of course, Sugar Kings. It's very good. They really haven't missed. They've been a very good looking team during their 30 years of existence.
My only complaint about the uniforms, honestly, it's not the gray one or the white uniform. It's the black uniform. They need to do something. Yeah. So the actual logo isn't bad. Like, it looks good. It just would be nice if they made it pop a little bit more. Because sometimes
everyone's complaint.
Yeah, it's like you watch some of those games and it's like, especially like the M on the hat, you can barely see it. It's so frustrating. It's like just you might as well wear a black hat.
Tanner, you got a favorite?
No, I'm a throwback guy. Those throwback guys, they're so good. There's nothing else to say. They're just so good.
John hit the point home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, with
the
uniform rules, they might. Stay tuned. We're gonna take a quick break for Fish Stripes Live, presented by La Pop. We'll get a commercial from them. Next up, we've got gambling segment. Definitely stay tuned for that, and we'll talk about lineups and we'll get to prediction time. Stay with us. All right. Oh, hold on a second. I forgot all about this. My apologies. We have Mr. Daniel Rodriguez here at the game as a fan. We've got about 40 minutes to first pitch. He's here in the Sugar Kings hat that we were just talking about. Daniel, we got his shirt from winning the predictions, and we'll get to that here soon about how you can also win prizes from predictions. But Daniel's at the game.
Yeah.
What are the general vibes from a fan perspective?
Vibes are high as I feel like I'm at a Met game. It is crowded with Mets fans. I would say it's honestly like 70-30. It's a lot. Look, let me see here. I had to find an area where it's relatively quiet because inside it's just full of people, full of Mets fans. 70-30. I see blue everywhere. Pete Alonso jerseys, Lindor, Keith Hernandez. It is everywhere. Vibes are high for the Marlins. I think for this series, it's going to prove a lot, especially see how it is out the gate. Sandy Scherzer, see how they can deal with that. Verlander on the IL. We got that exclusive from Frank the Tank. But overall, I'm looking for hopefully a great game today from Sandy. I think he has a Cy Young, I don't want to say performance, but I think he goes back to what he did last season. Especially today against the Mets, going up against high-quality pitcher as always, Max Scherzer. But in the ballpark, it feels like 70-30 is a lot of blue, and not the blue that the Marlins wear. It is a lot of blue and orange. Feels like we're at a Mets game. And, yeah, the lines keep getting bigger and bigger, and they're all full of Mets fans. So I'm looking at it right now. I had to stand outside just so I can be able to hear you guys, and you guys can be able to hear me. But it's a lot of Mets fans coming through the gate.
So if you walk up to a Mets fan and you say LFGM, will they know that you're saying let's go Marlins instead?
It's definitely Mets. There's a lot of Frank the Tank signs, so a lot of people here to see that. A lot of Mets fans, a lot of blue, a lot of like orange, not orange, like a lot of like light blue. Just people, contingents from Queens, from New York coming down. like a fan club, I would say come here to see the game.
They met up at the Seminole at the Hard Rock, correct? They had like a big meetup, and Noah was talking about that too. There's already some sections filled with the traveling contingency wearing a bunch of matching shirts.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see if I can flip my camera really quick.
Yeah, blue and orange.
So before I go, I'll go inside and I'll show you guys.
Let's get a POV.
I'll keep my mic muted. Mic muted.
And provide us some commentary. Okay, there's orange. Okay. Oh yeah, those are the traveling shirts that Noah was talking about. Yeah. Did he freeze? He's out there in the right field pavilion. It looks, or center field maybe.
I'll try to get center field. I'll get center field for you guys real quick.
Yeah. Let's just get an opening out into the field. Oh, there's Marlins fans. There we go. That's a fair point from
Bobbing and
Brian
weaving.
Gonzalez. All right. Well, let's get a peek out there.
All right, I'm right here. Center field.
On top of Auto Nation Alley. Okay. All right. It's filling in a little bit. Upper deck doesn't look too filled.
Jacob Stallings.
Good stuff. See some Mets jerseys right there.
This weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if tomorrow is like similar.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Hey, go. Let's get your prediction and MVP pick while we have you here.
I have Marlins winning 1 game. Pete Alonso MVP, 3 dingers in 3 games.
Jesus. All right. Well, appreciate that from Daniel. Not too high on the Marlins, it seems, but with the Verlander news, I feel like a split is more realistic. We'll get to that in a second. But in terms of predictions and stuff, we have Tanner here. As you can see, he's from the Action Network. Very big gambling guy. If you have read some of his articles in the month of March, he's probably made you some money if you enjoy college basketball. So we're going to talk about some Marlins futures and just some of the odds for today's game. So we'll start. Sandy is a Cy Young. He won it last year. I forget what his odds coming into the year were, but he was not the favorite. This year, he is the betting favorite as NL Cy Young. What do you think about him standing at plus 500 to win the award again?
I think he's going to have very similar year, if not the same year. I think he's going to, he's so durable. He hasn't lost anything off his stuff. That said, his odds to win the Cy Young way too low. Anything under 5-1 is just, you just can't lay it with this. In this type of market, everything is too unpredictable. What if he gets hurt? What if more ground balls fall through the no shift? That'd be a problem. The only time I ever laid under 5-1 for an MLB award, it was with DeGrom, obviously. And what do you think happened? He got hurt 2/3 of the way through the season. You can't do it. If you want to bet on him to be like Times Person of the Year or to solve world peace or something, he'll probably do that. He's that good. Other challengers. The obvious one is Burns. You can see under there. He's the second favorite. The only reason why is because he won it a few years ago, despite the volume issue. I don't know if you guys remember that, but the debate about how he won it over Wheeler despite throwing 40 less innings. He could probably do something similar if Sandy goes on to throw another 220 innings. I'm not high on Verlander or Scherzer, especially now with the injury report. If you're going to pick another guy in that top area to challenge Sandy for the Cy Young, if you want to bet that, I'd go with Spencer Strider. Yeah. He is 10-1. If he stays durable, he has a chance to do some unheard of things. Imagine he makes 30 starts with like a 40% strikeout rate, a sub-3 ERA, and he leads the league in wins because he plays for the best team in baseball. That's a good bet to me.
So Sandy was, as we mentioned, was not the betting favorite last year. I believe he was maybe 5th or 6th in the odds. We were talking before the show. Who's a guy that's down there towards the bottom that is someone to maybe look at to, not only challenge but win the award?
Sandy was all the way up at 40-1 when it opened last year. I grabbed that right away, and so did the same thing this year. Looked down the board. Long shot guy that I like at 70-1 or higher. Hunter Green of the Reds.
He's getting the opening day start today.
Yeah,
he shoves. He could throw some heat.
Oh, dude, he could throw some heat. So he's at the top of a desperate, talent-starved Reds team. Could be the savior that like Sandy was in Miami during like the lost season down the stretch. We're all just rooting for Sandy.
Yeah.
He could be
He could definitely make an all-star game.
Oh yeah, he altered. A big thing about him is he started beginning of last year getting shelled. He altered his pitch mix. Started throwing a slider a lot more after a quick injury stint in the middle of the season. So now he's got this like triple-digit rising fastball with hard side run that he pairs with a slider that sweeps down and away, and it's just a tough mix because you get your eyes up and then he throws you back down. You can run it in on both righties, lefties. In his last 8 starts last season, 1.75 ERA, 66 strikeouts and 15 walks in 46 innings, less than a 1 whip. His last 4 starts, he went down 0.78 ERA, 37 strikeouts in 23 innings, 12 hits, 7 walks, carrying all sorts of momentum into the season. Same thing that Sandy kind of did last year, if you all remember. He kind of started to figure it out toward the end of 2021, and then he just bolted out of the gate. I think this could happen with this guy. I love this price. I think it's already dropped across the market down to like 50 to 1. Still pretty good.
What it looks like on our graphic. Yeah, it's plus 5,000.
Yeah, I think that's a great bet if you're looking for a long shot in this market.
All right. Well, we got Cy Young. We'll look at another similar odds in terms of what Sandy's at. The Marlins playoff odds. The last I checked, it was plus 500 for the Marlins to make it, minus 350 for the Marlins to not make it. Obviously, there's some risk reward there, especially with the way the NL is. Where would you stand on this prop?
That one's probably too tough. We'll talk about the win total after this, but I'm quite high on the Marlins this year. I think they're gonna really surprise some people. The National League's just tough. Like they'll be in that race, but I just don't see value in picking either side of that prop. You know, I'm looking for a clear edge. I don't see a clear edge there. I hope they make it, but I'm gonna recommend no play on that one. But if you want me to talk about a play on Marlins future, can I mention the win total?
Well, let's go straight to the win total. Yeah, so it's sitting at 75.5 in most markets. You got it for 74.5 is what it sounds like.
Yep, picked it up right away. I love it. Our Action Network guy, Sean Zarillo, you can get him on Twitter at Sean Zarillo, does win total projections for every team. Has them at 79 wins this year. All the other, Pacoda, Davenport, all those right in the 78 to 80 area. This is 4 wins too low. I'm all in on over 75.5 wins for a few reasons. I think we get a few bounce back years from guys. I think Trevor Rogers, you'll see him bounce back a bit. I don't think anything really changed with his like location and stuff. I think he got unlucky with some long ball injury outside the zone. His expected FIP was like near 4, even though his ERA was like 5.5. You'll see that come down. I think you'll see Avi Garcia and Soler just after another year in the system. And there's no way that Garcia can struggle as much as he did last year, right? I mean, that's got to be physically impossible. Just hit 1 breaking ball. I mean, he finished in the 98th percentile in max exit velocity last year. He still has the power. He still has the pop. I think the whole team sees a bounce back year against lefties. Literally, again, might be impossible to hit worse against lefties as the Marlins did last year. They were 10% worse than every team in baseball. Mm-hmm. You have to see some sort of regression from there. It's impossible. Another guy, I mean, look, Brian DLC, /388, 419, 719 after getting called up midseason. He led the league in sweet spot rate last year. It was him, Freddie Freeman, JD Martinez. That has to mean something. I think Segura and Arise are perfect additions. Post-shift contact hitters. I think they're going to eat. Arise, I have a bet on Luis Arise to be the MLB hit leader at 20 to 1. I think that he is going to see a lot of doubles into that rangy left field at Lone Depot. A healthy Jazz year, if he can play 150 games, that's going to do wonders. Give me Yuri Perez and let's dance. We're winning 80 games. But last points, more balanced team. Schedule breaks well with 18 fewer games against the Mets, Phillies, and Braves. The bigger bases, that's going to be nice for a team that I think we led the league in stolen bases last year, right? Or at least
thanks to John Birdie. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that this team is going to really surpass expectations, and that's why their win totals moved up. The only thing that really worries me, the bullpen's going to suck, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Tanner Scott is projected as the best reliever, and I think his slider is starting to get dinged more and more.
There's some high upside for sure, though. You could get a good year from AJ Puck. Dylan Flora looked pretty good at the end of last season. I feel like the theme about the Marlins is, things could be bad, but things could be really, really good at the same time. I don't think anybody has a lower ceiling or lower floor or higher ceiling than the Marlins this year, which is what makes this over/under and win totals so polarizing.
I will tell you this, though. I think that the floor is raised a lot with Segura and Arise, and I think that the floor is higher than it was last year just because of how
Absolutely
the bottom fell out.
And you could argue that they hit the floor last year.
Oh yeah, dude, they went through the floor. They were in the basement. So I think, and look, man, it's 76 wins. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to fly past it.
Absolutely. We'll tease one more future here, and we'll talk about odds on the game today. A little bit of a teaser here. I was looking through. Jazz Chisholm in most markets is 70-1 to win MVP. Would you sprinkle anything on that if he could stay healthy?
Yes. I didn't personally, but yes, I would. I mean, what was his I remember I wrote about it here.
During my review article I did for him last year, we saw the splits as what the team hit with him and after he got his season-ending injury, and it's pretty staggering. If you're talking about what a player means to a team and actual value, but I don't think you can argue that Jazz Chisholm's one of the most valuable players in the league.
In 60 games, he slashed 254, 325, 535 with 12 stolen bases.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good. I mean, the only thing I guess that would worry me, and Gabrielle brought this up, if you put him in center, his fielding numbers are going to come down, and that'll probably bring down his WAR a bit. I think it's an all-encompassing stat, and then that's so integral to winning MVP this year is like having like Mookie Betts 10 more season, Aaron Judge 10 more season. That's probably a problem, but he's got. I mean, you're talking about uncapped ceiling at 71. Same thing with Hunter Green. The fielding thing worries me though.
Yeah. And I guess my point originally when we were talking about that has to do more so with like, wouldn't you want your best player, your best offensive player, your most, I mean, this is the guy that is in, he's the cover of MLB The Show. I'd want to put him in the most comfortable position to succeed and help the rest of the team succeed. Now, if he believes that he can be that guy to make that happen in center field, power to him. I want to believe in him too. However, I don't know. I think we're at the professional level, and I think learning center field's a lot harder than people probably think. And I don't think athleticism is the only factor that plays into being able to play center field.
Yeah, it was a really fun concept 2 months ago when he was talking about how confident he was, how he was going to win a Gold Glove, how he's working with Griffey to refine himself. But we've now seen it. We've seen it in spring games, and it wasn't good. Any way you slice it, there were several different situations that just reminded you that this is somebody playing out of position. Yeah. Despite the athleticism, this was somebody making strange decisions and also just learning how to get the read off of certain fly balls that he's never had to worry about as an infielder, and understanding his proximity to the wall. There's like several different aspects that he is just starting from scratch in this time that he's been working on it. I trust that he has been working on it. In fact, I think Alex Krutchik talked to him and some teammates during spring training about the process of learning it. So I would go to Krutchik after this. It's he's made progress. It's just there's a long way to go to even being an average player at that position. You got to assume right now that it's going to hurt the team defensively to have him there.
Yeah, we'll welcome in Alex here. He slid out of work for a second to come talk to us. It's a good day to skip work. It's opening day. Talked to Jazz about this, and you've got a little bit more on this topic specifically.
Yeah, I will say, you guys were mentioning you want to put your best hitter in a comfortable position. I will say, for whatever reason, he does seem comfortable there, at least in terms of how he's feeling. At least that's what he told us during spring training. I would love to know what he's actually thinking inside of his head. But he is comfortable, and he seems to be having fun learning the position. He was the one that went to Kim Ng and said, I want to play center field. And I believe Eli and Grant especially, I think that was before the Arias trade. He said, if you need me to play out of position and even play center field, I'll do it. So the Marlins aren't forcing him to move anywhere. He wanted to go wherever it was that he needed to go. But I do agree with you guys that then when it comes to the talent level, is he actually good there? I will say he got better as spring training went on. Towards the end of spring training, I started getting the vibe that this is a guy that's going to make the routine plays, but anything even slightly beyond routine is going to be an issue. There was a play last week where Brian De La Cruz had to run 102 feet to his right and make a catch at the wall going full speed and had to stop himself before he hit the wall. That's not a play that I think Jazz makes. I think that's a play where Jazz might hesitate and is scared of hitting the wall and just lets the ball drop and makes the throw into the infield. So yeah, anything beyond a routine play, I think, is going to be a challenge for him, especially in the beginning. But I guess we'll see.
I don't know if you guys. Oh, I'm so sorry, Grant. I'm just going to mention this one last thing. Something that I noticed about him this spring. I was watching him every game. I guess it was every other game. I noticed he was bunting the ball a lot more, and I kind of liked it. I don't know if he's been working with Juan Pierre. I don't know if that's been a thing, but he's been bunting the ball more, and it's been pretty cool to watch him get on base that way and not just feel like, oh, this guy just needs to hit a jack in order, to be productive. So I thought that was really cool. So
I do love a good drag bunt, and I do get the vibe that the team as a whole is focusing more on just contact and putting the ball in play and moving away from the three true outcomes. I do think they're going to start trying to just put the ball in play.
Yeah, 100%.
This is a good point. Absolutely. So we'll transition to I got one more part. We got one more betting thing. We're going to talk about some of the odds for today real quick. Hold on, let me pull them up here. Okay, so today's over-under is at 6.5 runs. I know a lot of people are big on this under because you got two Cy Young caliber pitchers on the mound today. What do you have here, Tanner? I think I might know where you're leaning.
Actually, no play on the over-under. Here, a couple things about this total. It's set. One, it's set fair. It's a fair price. No edge on the other side. Second, I always lean unders in the early season. You're coming up from Florida. They played in Florida 2 days ago. Now they're playing spring training 2 days ago, and now they're moving to the professional league. And I just think that the April unders usually end up profitable. So I try to stay away from the overs in the early season. However, I do think that both pitchers are a little overvalued in that market right now. So I don't know, I'm trying to, especially with the shift, Sandy's such a ground ball hitter. I don't really know how to project him yet. In terms of the side, though, we at the Action Network, we project this directly at Pick'em. Mets minus 100, Marlins plus 100. So anything above plus 105 on the fish, I think that's good, especially as a short home dog opening day.
That's what I had this morning here on my notes. And the run line's at 1.5. Taking the Marlins to cover that.
I have a friend. You could take the plus 1.5 and then parlay it with something else. That'd be a good play. I'm trying to think. Maybe there's a big favorite later tonight.
Angels are a massive favorite.
This is what I would do for all of our multi-sport Miami fans here. Take the fish plus 1.5 and parlay it with the Canes on Saturday.
Oh,
Canes plus 6. Yeah, do that. That'll be fun. That's what I would do with the
week. I know Eli smirking at that one, thinking about that one as a UM grad. Do you have a favorite player prop for today in this game?
Probably not in this game. What's do you know what Sandy's strikeouts are at?
I last saw it at 5.5. It's kind of a tough spot for him. He did throw 8 in his last spring training outing.
I'd probably lean under there. I'm trying to think of anyone that's had success against Scherzer in the past.
Gene Segura. Skip said that he moved him up in the lineup because he's got really good success against him.
Oh yeah, 13 for 36. Actually, you know what? Here's a bet. Noah mentioned Avi Garcia. Avi Garcia's got a 1,300 expected slugging against Scherzer in 13 at bats. Yeah,
Maybe he was on to something.
Yeah, if you find like a basis for him, or maybe because he was so awful last year, you could get slightly juiced, like over a half hit.
His odds are something. Like I said, he's the only player in this game that has an over/under strikeouts. It's not 0.5. It is 1.5.
He has 3 strikeouts against Scherzer in 13 attempts. That if you're looking for a prop, that's where I would lean. Or you could also, on the flip side, because of the bigger bases, you could target either Jazz or Birdie over stolen bases. I don't know what that number is, but I'm sure it's like a half, and you could get a pretty decent number there. I would look there too. Now I passed on the props and the total on the side or the total, but I did bet the Marlins. I got plus 112, and anything better than like plus 105 is a good look.
So we have mentioned Segura at batting second. So we'll get to the lineups here now. We're coming up on game time here. So looking at the lineups, first ones of the year, and Chisholm now batting cleanup after being 9th in the last year's opening day lineup. But a lot of other stuff pretty expected. We kind of found out yesterday that De La Cruz is going to be starting left fielder to start the year, when some people thought it was Sanchez. I thought it was going to be Sanchez. And then Segura batting second, and Skip said the reason for that was, well, he's hit Scherzer really well, so you want to maximize his at-bats. Arise is obvious candidate to hit leadoff. But what other observations do you guys have for both teams' lineups?
What this reminded me of is how much continuity the Mets had from last year. All those guys were on the team last year, except for Narvaez, as the part-time catcher on the bottom catching Scherzer. I don't think I noticed that just because all of the Carlos Correa buzz and how close they were to make that happening. It felt like this was going to be a different-looking team and even a stronger-looking lineup. But it's so many familiar faces from last year. That's what sticks out, at least about that side. And from the Marlins side, pretty similar to what we could have thought. But I always enjoy the fact that they put out all these lineups during spring training that people kept saying, that looks pretty close to opening day. That could be opening day. And he goes with one in particular that's actually different from any of the ones that they used in spring. So that's a good bit of gamesmanship by Skip right there.
I do have a question. Do you guys, looking at the Marlins lineup, 1 through 4, you got Arias, you got Segura, Cooper, and then Jazz. But really, I guess, would you put 5 through 9 as question marks?
It could be interchangeable every single day. And I think Skip's already showed us earlier today with a lot of his reasoning for these guys is he's going to play his lineups analytically. Don Mattingly was not an analytical manager at all. That was a lot of gripes within the media and fans about his managing style. But Skip's going to look at matchups every single day. He's going to look at history. He's going to look at prior performance. There was a lot of times that it was rumored that the Marlins would set lineups a few days in advance. I think Skip's going to take it up to the buzzer and see what's going to work against that pitcher that day and what day of the week it is, what time. He's going to factor in everything. And I think I like that a lot about him early on.
Yeah, I don't know what this offense in itself is going to look like on an individual level.
Yeah.
What I will say is the lineup itself does seem to be maximizing how good the players are. Whether they're actually going to be great or not, that's something different, but it does seem to be maximizing their full potential. Do you guys remember last year, the leadoff hitter for Marlins opening day was Jorge Soler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garrett Cooper was hitting second. This is a much prettier lineup. Obviously, I love Arias hitting first. It'll be interesting to see if Arias hits second at all this year because he actually had a better batting average and OPS plus hitting second last year.
I think it'd be a better question of who hits leadoff than at that point. But I guess you got options. You could put Wendell there. You could put Chisholm. I don't want to see Soler there again, but maybe Segura. You got some options.
I'm interested in also Jazz Chisholm batting cleanup. It'll only be his second start there ever. I wonder what the logic is there, but if you can He's got power. He said yesterday that he wants to hit 40 home runs. If Reyes and Segura and maybe Cooper get on base, we'll see what happens there. But
Well, I mean,
I like Stabs hitting fourth.
It's only his second start there because he's got a new manager, right?
Don had only put him in cleanup once. I couldn't even recall the game.
Yeah, Skip's going to play his lineups analytically. He's going to play him different than Dodd did. I love it personally. I didn't know if anyone else had anything on that. I have 2 points I wanted to make.
I guess just looking at the bottom of that lineup, though, it seems like it would have been nicer to just see it a little bit more balanced out. Just because it's like, again, question marks on 5 through 9 based off of. I mean, we just don't know yet. We have to let the season play on.
Well, I would say there's a lot of power 4 to 7. Chisholm has power. Soler could hit 40 home runs. Avi has warning track power. De La Cruz can hit the piss out of the ball. 8, 9. Those are 8, 9 hitters, and Wendell can play up in the lineup too. And having Wendell as 9, I feel like that spaces out the lineup a little bit more. Whereas a lot of times, almost every single game last year, actually, when the Marlins are playing, if 7, 8, 9 was due up or 8, 9, 1 was due up, you just roll over and go, oh, well, that's a waste of an inning. I don't feel like that this year. I feel like this is a really well put together lineup, whereas there's no off innings sort of. It's not like, okay, Marlins are going to go down in strikeouts. I feel like there's a good player in every single spot in this lineup, and Skip is maximizing the abilities of all his players, which it's really refreshing to see that.
Yeah. I believe in DLC right there, man. Let's go.
He's second best hitter in all baseball last year in September.
If we could just get some of that, would be great.
Are we still having the Stallings Fortes debate?
We've heard that Fortes and Stallings will get they will get a decent amount of playing time. Both, I guess, is kind of the way he put it. Whereas if Fortes isn't a catcher, he may go DH. Soler may go left field, but then Fortes could catch. Stallings is Sandy's battery mate, so it does not surprise me whatsoever to see him there. But I feel like Fortes, you could see him go in different spots. Dom was very, very strategic about and very set out on how or what batteries he had and who was catching who on any given day. It'll be interesting to see how Skip handles that as the year goes on. It was a pretty foregone conclusion that Sandy was going to be throwing the Stallings, but if Sandy gets pulled 7th inning, I wouldn't be surprised. If Stallings is coming up in the order, they bring in Fortes to catch whoever's coming out of the bullpen.
Also, Fortes was taking some grounders and some drills at first base this spring. I don't even remember if they actually wound up putting him in at first during any live games, but he got some work in at first.
Yeah. I don't think they ever ended up actually playing him during any of the spring games. And that's, right in the middle of the spring, they signed Yuli Gurriel. So that just shows you how they didn't really feel they had a backup first baseman at all until they brought him in from the outside.
And they said it could have been Rojas and then traded him that night. So it just goes how quickly the Marlins can move.
Last time I was on here, you guys were all just like, get Stallings off the team. I want Fortes starting every single day. That was that long ago.
Stallings, here's my thing. I actually think maybe in Fish Stripes I'm the highest on Stallings, where I don't think he's a long-term option, obviously, but he had a good end of last year. He was in a Cy Young battery. Historically, he's a good defensive catcher. If you have one blemish in a lineup, if everyone else can hit to their potential and Stallings the one blemish, so be it. So be it. Any other final thoughts on the lineup before we get to everyone's favorite part, the predictions?
Yeah, I had one. I thought that there was another catcher that's supposed to start for the Mets, isn't there? Alvarez?
Yeah, don't know what happened there.
I don't think he's not on their opening day roster. They optioned him late in camp.
Oh, he didn't make the opening day roster?
Syracuse.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right. Coming up on first pitch here, we'll get the predictions in quick. But first, we want to go for super follower predictions. Do we have some?
Yes. Let's go right into this.
This is prediction time.
It's time.
This is Grant's first time leading this final segment. So Gabriel, along with dozens and dozens of others, support us as super subscribers or super followers, as Grant likes to call them. You can see some of their series predictions on the bottom here. A quick reminder from last year. Last year was the first time that we tried this, and Gabriel had a pretty good showing. I myself had a pretty good showing, but I was surpassed at the very end of the year by Daniel Rodriguez. He is a reigning predictions champion. As you can see, we get points based on picking the series, how many games the Marlins win in the series, and then the series MVP as determined by win probability added. It could be a hitter, it could be a pitcher, it could be on either team. And we keep track of it, both for everybody that appears on the show, everybody on our staff that can't make it on the show, as well as all of our super subscribers. We keep track of all that during the course of the season. So this is the very first series prediction show of this season. We have 5 of us on here right now. Yeah, a 4-game series. I like to remind people. I think everybody figured that out. But just so we have 4 games to split up between how many the Marlins are going to win and how many the Mets are going to win. I can start with Grant right here. Why not? Okay. And let me just get the right background for you so we can put this on TikTok afterwards.
All right. Going on TikTok. All right. So Noah kind of said it, and it's always a good bet for especially a 4-game series like this one. And I feel a lot better about this one now, knowing that Verlander's not playing. I'm going to go split. I was kind of torn on my MVP, but any series where Sandy's playing, even if it's 4 games, you got to go Sandy Alcantara. So I'll start off the year on a good note. Marlins split the series with the Mets, and Sandy Alcantara wins series MVP.
Okay. Give it your best shot, Gabriel. Had the magic touch last year.
Oh, yeah, right. So after the news that came out with Verlander, I'm going to go series split. And then my MVP is going to be none other than Marlins killer himself, Francisco Lindor. So that's my go-to.
It's never a bad pick.
I think he has been the most popular pick that we've seen come in so far. It's not a surprise. Give it your best shot, Tanner.
I'll make this quick. I thought it was going to be Mets 3-1-2, but I thought Verlander was going to shove.
Yeah.
But since he's out, I'll go Marlins split. I think we win the Sandy start. Lots of high energy first game. I am worried though. Fun fact: the Mets have won 40 of their last 53 openers. Wow. I think the Luzardo-Peterson matchup is the weird one. Know the Marlins' proclivity for hitting lefties, but not so confident about the Mets either. Either way, I think the Mets steal 2 once they settle in. I think we probably get maybe the final start. MVP, Arise goes 9 for 16 and begins his trek towards becoming the MLB hit leader and cashing my 20-1 bet.
Alex Krutchik, go ahead.
I came into this thinking maybe a split 2-2, but after the Verlander news and a combination of opening day optimism, I'm gonna go 3-1. And then my MVP is gonna be Gene Segura. He mashes against the Mets. He mashes against Max Scherzer. He's slashing 328, 371, 525 with 12 home runs against the Mets. It's the most home runs he's hit against any team. And then he has a similar slash line against Max Scherzer, so I think he's going to feast a little bit today. And yeah, I think he's going to have a great one.
And I am discarding all the evidence that I have about the Marlins being a terrible opening day team recently, and the Mets, as Tanner just pointed out, having this amazing multi-generation stretch of dominating. I think the Marlins are going to win the series. It's going to be a very closely fought series, I imagine. And Jesus Luzardo is somebody I've done a total 180 on since this time a year ago. I think he is the very clear number 2 in this rotation, and he's going to pitch like it right out of the gate. He's just such a complete pitcher, such a refined pitcher compared to what he used to be. He's finally living up to who he was supposed to be when he was a top prospect in the A's system. So I can't wait to see him pitch in those throwback unis that we talked about. I think that's going to be the highlight of the series, as much as there's a lot of anticipation for what we're going to see tonight. I think tomorrow on Friday, that's going to be what I'm most looking forward to.
All right, there you have it. Here are our predictions. You too can make predictions if you subscribe to our Twitter, become a super follower. It's just $3 a month. There's so many different benefits, so many different contests you can join. We have more info on our Twitter, and you'll have your name down at the bottom here. We used to read them off, but hey, there you go. Become a Fish Stripe Super subscriber on Twitter. Lowest price we can make it, $3 a month. Highly consider doing this. All right, that's all the time we have. Oh, first pitch is in 4 minutes. Went a little long today, but lots of excitement in the air, lots to talk about. The Marlins are officially back. Baseball is back. We'll see you guys again on Monday for the Twins series stream. Thank you guys once again, and enjoy opening day.